Hey, welcome back to Frank's Model Works. I'm Frank. This is going to be one of the first in the series on the 71 Mach 1 Mustang by Revell. I've gotten all the parts off the trees, de-sprued them, cleaned up the sprue attachment points, removed all the panel lines, not the panel lines, I keep saying that. The mold separation lines. I got that done. I did some minor assembly on some parts where I want to remove seams before I prime and paint. I've actually gotten all of that done. I'm filming this introduction after all of that, so that went swimmingly. And this video is also going to be accompanied by another standalone video that shows the tools that I use for de-spruing, for removing sprue attachment points, and sanding my mold separation lines. Also included in that video, unfortunately, is a little bit of a rant on my part. I was just getting very frustrated about things that I see in the hobby, and I went off on it a little bit. But I'm sure nothing that I said is going to be too controversial. It has to do with inconsiderate behavior by people on social media groups and in forums. And so it's part of the tool portion of this video. So check that out and try to, keep an open mind. I said what I said with the best intentions. Unfortunately, the people that it was directed at are the type of people who, upon realizing what they're doing is wrong, they're the type that reply, well, why do you let it bother you? Or, why can't they just use the search function? That kind of thing. And I don't like that stuff. Be helpful. So, but anyway. Shut up, Frank. Let's get on. Show you the parts, see how we're doing. Okay, I have de-sprued all of the parts and arranged them for now in the subassembly that they're eventually going to go into. Once I've cleaned the parts, done some minor construction to remove seams and stuff like that, what I will then generally do is arrange the parts according to the color that they're going to be painted or primed first, and then arrange things from there. As far as the body goes, I've outlined with green Sharpie the mold separation lines. It's a good look when you can smooth out the body, get rid of those lines. They are rather visible. It's one of the things that people look for at a model to see if you've cleaned up the lines and stuff like that. If you notice in here, there's a lot of ejector pin marks. I like to get rid of those as well, even though I doubt anybody's ever going to see this, because I know I'm not going to pick up the model and show it to them, but I like to know that I address this. Now this I have to be a little bit careful because there's molded in headliner detail. So I might just fill these in because they're recessed. I might fill them in. But as I get to that point, I'll show you what I'm going to do. Okay? The parts breakdown for this is actually, it's pretty interesting. And the difference between this kit, which is the Mach 1 429, and the Boss 351 that was released a couple of months ago is, this one has a body-colored front bumper, which is pretty cool. I am going to de-chrome. There's very few chrome pieces. I am going to de-chrome these and repaint them myself, and I'll go over that process when I get to it. Until that time, I generally, with the glass, I cut the windshield off, and I'm going to put it inside this piece of polishing felt and then place it inside this Ziploc to protect it. Set it to the side so that I'm not going to have any problems with it. polish that when and do whatever detailing and cleaning that needs to be done when the time comes for it. But that's just to protect that in there. I've left the other side windows and the tail light, the tail glass. What is that? The rear glass. I left that on the sprue. I'll deal with that when I have to. But for now, I'll set that to the side inside the box to protect it. I have all my things in sub-assemblies, and now what I'll do generally is I'll glue the engine halves together. Anything that like the seats, the front seats are in 2 pieces, so I'll glue those together to get rid of the seams. And I'll prepare everything to be mounted on fixtures and primed and painted. Okay, all parts have been de-sprued, cleaned, mold lines removed. In some cases I've done some minor assembly, like the seats, and I've removed the seams, so you don't see those. I had to rescribe some of the upholstery detail to the top of the seat right there. The interior on this car is going to be red. These panels here are black vinyl, so it almost looks like Deadpool. Like, it reminds me of Deadpool, the actual pattern. I'll see if I can post a picture of the pattern that I'm going for. I did minor assembly to get the engine halves together and remove the seam on the transmission. I didn't have to do too much here because the oil pan's gonna block this. And then over here I made sure I got rid of that seam. Got rid of the seam on the top of the transmission and on the front of the engine block. So this way you see basically what would not have a seam on it in real life. Now, what other prep did I do? Where are the tail? The exhaust tips, I drilled those out and then hollowed them out a little bit, refined the seam where the tips will go onto the pipes themselves. The tips I'm going to chrome, very much like these parts. Anything that was on the chrome tree, actually I could take this out of here. I de-chromed whatever was on the chrome tree, and I'm going to re-chrome it. I'll show what I use in order to do that when I get to that part. I got my glass pieces in here just to make sure, like before I put all this stuff on fixtures. Oh, if you notice, I'm wearing gloves because 84.6% bacon grease. I'm gonna make sure that I drop the smallest pieces like 7 times for good luck. I'm gonna be using a Morgan Automotive Detail distributor, pre-wired distributor. I like these. These are pretty good. I cut the vacuum advance off the kit distributor, and I drilled out the little hole. I don't know if that's going to show up. The little hole for the... No, my thumb's in the way. Giant thumbs. The little hole for the vacuum advance line. And I also... Oh, I forgot to drill that. I put the breather on the valve cover, and I got to drill that out. It's a good thing I looked at that. I got to drill that out for a vacuum line also. The manifold has had a couple of holes drilled in it for vacuum lines. And the carburetor has got the... I use brass for the fuel line. This is going to be wrapped down to the fuel filter. I don't know if I'll add the fuel line to the undercarriage, the underside of the model. for no other reason than, you know, I don't turn them upside down very often, and I don't know, it's deeper than I tend to get into them. Maybe I will on this one, we'll see. I drilled out the Steel Me cap on the I don't know, no, this isn't the voltage regulator, this is the relay. So that one side of this goes to the positive side of the battery, and then there's the other goes to the voltage regulator. So we'll see how much of that wiring we can make onto the model before I completely lose my temper and Hulk smash the entire thing. I drilled out holes for the heater hoses and the corresponding holes in the firewall. Can you see that? Do you see? There you go. The body. Got rid of all the panel lines. Not the panel lines, the mold lines. Rescribed the panel lines. And remember I was showing you the ejector pin marks. I got them out, kind of. I mean, they'll still be visible if you're looking at it from a certain angle, but if anybody picks my models up, then they're going to have to talk to a 280-pound Irish maniac. That would be me. The hood on this thing, I did manage to trim that stub off without messing the hood up, which is, you know, pretty good for me. I'm really good at messing things up, and the fit on this, the hood fits really well. It gets in there nice. So, more hidden ejector pin marks. Where is this? There are ejector pin marks behind here. Even though this is going to be blacked out, there were ejector pin marks here and here, here and here. So I got rid of those. Drilled out the heads for spark plugs and the wiring. Got to get the boots. Beyond that, it's basically a out-of-the-box build with the exception of some minimal wiring and plumbing in the engine bay. So next up, we're going to get these on fixtures, and what I try to do more often than not, hold on a second, I'll go get one. Stand by. Everybody calm down. I'm over here. Everything's fine. I'm still here. Don't run away. I'm close to the camera. Okay, I'm back. Alright, so these are the alligator clips that I use to attach parts to in order to paint them. I prefer these because they're not intrusive. What I'll generally do is I'll paint the inside here first and then wait for that to dry, move on to another part. Once it's dry, then I'll come in and clip on and then paint out here where it counts. But first I'm going to prime it. If I do mount something onto a piece of wood, whenever I use one of these swabs, I cut the swab part off and I keep the wood. This way I can mount it for, you know, use it for mounting parts for painting. I use this stuff, this poster putty. You wad it up into a tiny little ball, rip it off, you stick it onto the wood, and then whatever the part, you stick it on there. But the same rules apply. Paint what's going to be visible last. This way it gets the best finish, because I mean you could feather the paint in, but for the most part it's easier to paint the backside first, and then this is what's going to be visible. Paint that second. This way you know that you have coverage. And I do tend to paint everything, like the inside of my bodies, even over here when nobody's ever going to see anything, will be painted. It's just like it's literally an idiosyncrasy of mine. It's not necessary. It's just something that I like to do. I'll even probably paint over here as well. The only thing I won't do, and this took, you know, years of therapy and electroshock treatment, if the molded in branding isn't visible, like it's not visible on here, so when the model's finished, that's going to be right here. I'll leave it alone. I won't bother with it. It's only if it's going to be visible on the finished model will I remove it, which is most older kits. It's usually molded in here in this area, and it can be a pain in the neck to get rid of sometimes, so I don't really mind that it's here. It's better here. I mean, we know Revell built it. We bought it. But anyway. Okay, so that's technically the second part of the construction of a model car. The first part of constructing a model car for me is I do open the box, I take the parts out, I do an inventory of the parts against the instructions, make sure that they're all there, make sure that they're not broken. Then I read the instructions, make sure that there's nothing hinky in there or weird or strange, like me. Once that's done, I do this part. I clean the parts up, make sure that they somewhat come close to the real thing. I'm not looking for 100% accuracy. What I'm really looking for is a word called verisimilitude. There he goes again with the SAT words. I understand why I got beat up a lot when I was a kid. I get it. But I'm looking for the appearance of accuracy rather than 100% accuracy. So that's the standard that I go by. In this model, as I mentioned before, it's just going to be light wiring, distributor, some fuel lines, maybe the brake lines coming down from the master cylinder, which reminds me, I got to drill those. So we'll get to that, and I got everything ready to go as far as painting and priming. Once I have something more to show you, I'll be back. So, as always, I really appreciate the support. And once again, my friends, until we speak again, take care of yourselves and be well.